Hello and welcome back to Facebook Ads Mastery. Again, I'm your instructor, Andrew Tapin, and now we are going to take a look at the very powerful Facebook marketing tool called Audience Insights. If you haven't heard about Audience Insights, it is where Facebook marketers can go to do a lot of research on their audience and find which interests, behaviors, and different demographics can really help get you a very targeted audience for your ad campaigns. So to access Audience Insights in Ads Manager, it's on the left-hand side right here. It's self-explanatory, Audience Insights. And if you have the newer Ads Manager, you click your Tools drop down and it will open up in a new window like this. So once we click on Audience Insights, Facebook gives us a few options to choose from to kind of build our audience and do our research. As you can see here, and what we're mainly going to be going through is we're going to be taking a look at everyone on Facebook, but you can also just get insights into people connected to your page. Now keep in mind, you do have to have quite a few people on your page for Facebook to provide you the information and data on. And then also you can look at the insights of a custom audience, which later in the course we're going to learn about custom audience and the importance of that. So for now, let's click on everyone on Facebook. And if you're in the United States, it's going to default to the United States. And most of the marketing that I do is to the United States. I also do some to other English-speaking countries such as Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand. For kind of the topic that we're going to be looking at now, and for this course, we're just going to leave it at United States. But just know that if you did want to add another country or region, you just type it in here. Once you start typing in, Facebook will kind of recognize what you're looking for, and right there is the country, United Kingdom. So you can add that to the mix as well. So the layout of Audience Insights, it's the default page shows you demographic information, and this is on a monthly active audience. They're gauging it off of monthly active users, not daily active users. Once we get into creating an ad and setting our budget, we'll get a better feel of what our daily audience might be. But this is really meant to give you a good gauge of your target audience, because obviously you don't really want to be targeting 150 to 200 million people. That's way too broad. But Facebook does break it down for you: age, gender, lifestyle, relationship status, whether married, single, in a relationship, engaged. And on a personal level, you might know this is stuff that you've shared with Facebook, so that's how they know it about you. They know whether you went to high school, college, or grad school. You've also, if you've happened to share your job title, they have all that information. So this is where we're going to be doing our targeting. So for the sake of this lesson and learning about Audience Insights and the power of it, I'm going to be using motorcycle fans, people that like motorcycling, to kind of give you an idea of how to navigate around Audience Insights and use it to your advantage. So one thing I like to do is to open up a notepad document. It's easy just to jot things down, some interests that I might want to target, age groups, that sort of thing. So you'll see here I have a notepad open. Obviously there's some stuff here already because I've already done a little research on this topic. But let's get started. So first, what you're going to do in interests right here is type in the broad interest that you're targeting. So if we just type in motorcycles, you'll see that pops up right here. If I click on that, motorcycles, that's a hobbies and activity. Facebook is going to tell me there's between 20 and 25 million monthly active users in the United States, which obviously that's a very big audience, and too big as a matter of fact. But that's where we're going to get started from. It's also showing me 76% of this audience is men, 24% is women, and here's the age breakdown. They break it down into year increments. So if you do some targeting, base it on there, those ages. So now that we have the general interest in there, we're going to hop over to page likes. This is going to show us the top categories of different pages that are on Facebook. Obviously, a page that's titled I Love Trucks isn't as people that like motorcycles. Indian Motorcycle, West Coast Choppers, those are more interesting pages. But what we're going to do from there is scroll down to page likes. So this is going to show us different pages that people like motorcycles. They also like these pages. First thing we're going to do after we scroll down to page likes is come over to the affinity tab and click on that so it resorts it from highest to lowest, because we're really going to be focused on that affinity rating and these page likes, because as Facebook shows us here, how likely your audience is to like a given page compared to everyone on Facebook. So the higher the number is, the better. Ideally, we want this number to be 20 and above. So right now we've got a couple things going against us. Our affinity rating is low and our audience is too big. So what we're going to do right off the bat is kind of expand this interest. So I'm going to type motorcycles in again, and we're going to look for something a little more precise. So let's choose Harley Davidson. It's a brand of motorcycles. Most of you have probably heard of Harley Davidson. So now that we have that in there, we're actually going to take this broad interest of motorcycles out of the equation. So I'm sure you may have noticed that this affinity rating went up from 4.2, 4.3 up to 11. And also our audience size has actually gone down to 7 to 8 million people. So we're starting to get a little more targeted, but still that's not enough. We want to be even more precise. So let's take a look at some of these page likes. Here's a good one. I love Harley Davidson motorcycles. So let's start typing that in. Something to consider is that not every page on Facebook is targetable. So you want to start typing a page in that you'd like to target and see if it pops up. And so there we have it. I love Harley Davidson. Okay. Let's see what that did to our audience. Still 7 to 8 million. And our affinity rating didn't really change very much. So I'm very curious as to how big that audience is. So I'm going to take the broad interest. What you'll notice in these interests, some will be uppercase and some will be lowercase. Most of the time you want to really target the lowercase ones. They're much more precise interests than the uppercase ones are. So you notice we take just the generic Harley Davidson out. We're now down to 8,000 to 9,000 monthly active people, so that's way too small. So let's put Harley Davidson back in there so we can get our page likes back up. Again, resort by affinity rating. And let's take a look at some other categories or page likes. Let's do Cycle Trader. All right, there we have it. lowercase, Cycle Trader pops up. Affinity rating went up a little bit. And audience still 7 to 8 million. That's mainly because of the broad interest Harley Davidson in there. So we still want to drill that down even more. Let's take a look at Biker's Inner Circle. Okay. And see, here we have one that isn't targetable. So we kind of have to go back to the drawing board there to find another interest that might be more targetable than Biker's Inner Circle. Let's see, we have see more. Let's see what other options we have here. Easy Riders Magazine. So that's probably a pretty hardcore group. There we have it, Easy Riders Magazine. And we're still at 7 to 8 million, so still way too broad for my liking. So let's take Harley Davidson out of there. There we go. So now we're down to 300,000 to 350,000 monthly active users on Facebook that are interested in Cycle Trader, Easy Riders Magazine, and I Love Harley Davidson Bikes. So we scroll down to our affinity rating. Look what happened. Once we took out the broad interest of Harley Davidson, it shot through the roof. So we have all these different pages that affinity rating is really, really high. So what we would then start to do is type in some of those interests so we could get our audience up. So even though we have 300 to 350,000 monthly active, once you drill that down to say your ad only goes to people on desktop ages 25 to 55, you're probably only looking at maybe 25 to 50,000 daily active users. So that makes it even smaller. So what I like to do is I try to find an audience of anywhere from 750,000 to 1 million people in Audience Insights. That way I know once I build my ad and get it a lot more defined, I'm still going to be reaching a good amount of people. So now that we have a halfway decent audience and some very good affinity ratings, what you're going to do after you add some more interests in there is you're going to go back to demographics. We want to know what that audience is made of. Is it mostly men? Is it mostly women? As we can see here, 85% of our audience is men. So whatever we're marketing towards people that are interested in hardcore motorcycling, we're going to be targeting men. And also you can see the bulk of the men in this audience are between the ages of 25 and 64. Very small numbers in 18 to 24 and 65 plus. So when you create your ad, you'll probably want to drill it down even more to go 25 to 64 and men. So narrowing down those age and gender, that only dropped that audience down about 100,000 monthly active users. And if we actually go back to page likes and resort our affinity's gone up because we've defined our target audience even more. So there you can actually see the power of the affinity rating and Audience Insights. And all we've looked at is interests. You know, the power of Audience Insights is you can drill it down even more. If you look at your men age 25 to 64 and you see that 50% of them are married, and you want to just target motorcycle riders between the ages of 25 and 64 men that are married, you're then going to come over to the Advanced tab, and you have all these different segments to choose from. So if you're wanting just married men 25 to 64, click on relationship status, married. You can even define how long. That's just part of the depth of Facebook ad targeting and how effective it is. Again, we look at their education level. This I probably would leave alone. You've got a good mix between high school and college. And honestly, I'd probably leave the married out of it, because you could be missing out on some really key people. Because as you see, once we added married to it, it dropped our audience down another 100,000. So again, that's why whenever I build my audience, I want to add enough interest, most likely up to about 10, that get me to about 750,000 to 1 million monthly active users. Again, that's very important when it comes to building your ad, and we're breaking it down between mobile and desktop, newsfeed or right column, how many people are actually going to see that on a daily basis. So there, I hope you kind of see the power of Audience Insights and what you can do with it. The next lesson, I'm going to dig a little more into some of these advanced interests that we can take a look at. That way you can really expand your targeting before we get into actually building our ads. So thanks for taking a peek at Audience Insights, and join me in the next lesson and we'll drill down a little more. All right, take care.